Market Musings podcast with Fairbairn and Russell. Welcome to the Market Musings podcast, where our guest today is the CEO of Oilex, which is an AIM and ASX listed company with energy-based projects in India, the UK, Indonesia and Australia. So the CEO, Roland Wessel, is with us today. Roland, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. It's good to be talking to you. And of course, we're joined by a third party. Of course, Kenny, how are you?
Yep, I'm very well, very well. Great to have you on, Roland. And I'm obviously from my accent, you can tell I'm from Scotland, and it's lovely and sunny today. And I believe it's pouring the rain in England, so it makes a change. So it does.
That wasn't the case when I was there last week. It was rather chilly and wet.
yeah, that's the norm. So it is. But where are you calling us from today, Roland?
I'm calling you from my house in Barons Court, which is West London.
All right. Okay. Yep. I know the area roughly. So yeah, no, it's great to have you on the podcast, Roland. And what we like to do in these podcasts is we feel that directors probably get fed up and CEOs get fed up answering the same 20 questions over and over again about their projects, and investors want to know about the people behind the projects. So we believe that people make projects, and without good people behind these projects, then the company will never be a success. So what we like to do is sort of hand the floor over to Roland for a potted history of Roland, and it's up to you how far back you want to go. If you want to go back, to childhood, where you were born, early education, if you went to university, and then we can move through your career and how you ended up at Oilex. So really, it's sort of next 10, 15 minutes is a kind of platform for you, and we'll jump in at appropriate moments.
Okay, well, please let me know if I'm waffling on, but I guess I can start by saying that my family is from the Netherlands. My dad was born in Indonesia, which used to be the Dutch East Indies. And my mum comes from a small town called Boskoop, which is near Gouda, where the cheese comes from. And my dad moved to England basically because he was a horticulturalist, and the competition in Holland was pretty stiff. So he came to England and settled in Kent. And I guess Kent is where I grew up most of my formative years before I started work. I guess that horticultural background was kind of formative for me because from a fairly early age, my dad put me to work. He was a rose grower by that stage, became a pretty famous rose grower, and most of my weekends and summer holidays were spent budding roses, lifting roses, bundling roses up, etc. It got to the point where even though I still have a lot of knowledge and interest, I didn't love horticulture the way that my dad did. So the first opportunity I had, I left home and I went to university in London here, University College London, and I read geology for 3 years, which I must admit I took the subject without really having too much knowledge as to what I was letting myself in for. And after a year or two, I really became besotted with geology. I really felt I had a talent for it, and I really enjoyed it. I hope my lecturers aren't listening, but at the same time I was racing motorcycles, which was a bit of a distraction, but I did manage to graduate. And ironically, a good friend of mine at UCL was a certain Peter Schwartz, who is an Oilex non-exec. And Peter had been working in Nigeria with Bayreuth, which is now Halliburton. And he said, "Oh, you must come out to Nigeria. It's really great." So I took him at his word. I joined Bayreuth. I went out to Nigeria. I think we had a 2-week overlap, and I didn't see him again for the next 28 years. And I guess Nigeria, 3.5 years in Nigeria was extremely formative for me because it was very, very hard to find expats who were willing to go to Nigeria. Consequently, I got to do everything. I sat on wells as a well site geologist. I ran casing. I ran mud. I was a company man at the age of 21 on an Ajip well, which is now ENI, which is kind of astonishing. Luckily, the drilling contractor knew what they were doing, so they kind of held my hand. But it was a really, really interesting time for me. I ended up supervising, I think, about 16 or 17 rig operations. It was pretty hard though, and when I was asked to go to Iran, I said, "Come on, guys! I've done 3.5 years in a hardship area. I want something a little bit easier." So they said, "Well, okay, you can go to Corsica, but you'll have to go tomorrow." This was Christmas Eve, by the way. So I said, "Fine." And as I left the office, it turns out that Corsica was the code name for an operation that we had in Israel. And I was there for 2.5 years as a drilling engineer. All I can say was bloody marvelous. It was a week on and a week off, flying from Tel Aviv in a private plane to the Red Sea, going offshore. By the time you figured out what was going on, it was time to go back to Tel Aviv again. And despite that, we did find an oil field, a successful oil field that got put on production at about 35,000 barrels a day. Very, very good time. And then I transferred to the Middle Eastern headquarters in Athens. And I spent a year and a half or 2 years there looking after the Middle Eastern operations, which meant I had to travel and work in lots of Middle Eastern countries, Egypt, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Libya, all the sunspots. Again, very good experience, very interesting work. And then I got transferred to London and looked after the same area in the Middle East, but also the North Sea. So lots of trips to Norway. I worked offshore Norway for a while. The Netherlands, obviously the North Sea. So that was a pretty good sort of grounding for me. And Bayreuth is now a division of Halliburton, but the Bayreuth culture was just outstanding. They've been a multinational company for many, many years, and they really knew how to organize themselves. And I've got nothing but praise for that organization.
Yeah, is that an American company, Roland?
It's an American company, yes, Houston-based.
Yeah, I worked for Compact Computers for about 10 years, and I must admit they were just streets ahead of any other company I've ever worked for in my life. It was just a holiday camp, so it was compared to some of the jobs I had. It was fantastic, and they just knew how to treat people, get the best out of people, motivate people. It was I wish it was still there, but unfortunately the Compact brand doesn't exist anymore. They were taken over by HP, but no, I concur with the American corporations. They know how to treat their employees. Well, most of them anyway, in my experience.
Yeah, not all of them, but many of them. And as you probably know, Compact was a Houston company. And I believe it's the center of gravity is still Houston as far as Hewlett Packard are concerned.
Yep. Nah, that was a great experience. No, sorry for interrupting. I just thought I would drop that in there. I'll let you carry on.
I totally echo what you say. Bayreuth was fantastic with its people. They really knew how to nurture people and give people scope to go out and do as much good or damage as possible. In my case, I think it was mostly very good. I did eventually move to Houston for about 1.5 years, and I looked after Latin American operations based in Houston. And then I kind of got headhunted by a company based in Connecticut called Teleco. And if you've been around the oil patch long enough, you would know that Teleco was the pioneer company that developed measurement while drilling. It was a joint venture between Raymond Industries, which was a Connecticut-based engineering company, and Elf Aquitaine, the French oil company. I thoroughly enjoyed that, although I thought the politics in Connecticut were a little bit strange, and essentially I got moved to Aberdeen to look after Eastern Hemisphere, and I was there for the best part of 8.5 years with Teleco. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Opened up lots of new operations. Established operations in Nigeria, which became one of the biggest operations. But we were number one in the world in those days, and it was very exciting times. We did eventually get severe competition from the likes of Schlumberger and Baker, but still very much a powerhouse company. And I left because I got wind of the fact that they were going to be bought out by Baker, which I thought was going to be a big problem. Teleco had 550 research and development engineers in Connecticut, and I just knew in my heart of hearts that the first thing that Baker would do would be to shut down the headquarters in Connecticut and move the center of gravity to Houston, which is exactly what happened. And we were talking about, do I have regrets? One of my regrets is I didn't have the cojones to take up an offer that I had from 3i, which is the big private equity company. They suggested that I lead a management buyout by Teleco. And I just felt that I didn't really have the guts, as it were, to cut out a lot of people in Connecticut because they were very top heavy in Connecticut. I was worried that I might have to lay off about 150 people, and a lot of those people were my friends, and I really didn't want to do it. I now know that stupidly they all went except for 16 people. So had I taken over, I could have saved a lot of jobs, but that's one that slipped through my fingers. But at that stage, I knew that I wanted to set up my own drilling services company, and 3i were eventually the people that backed me. A couple of really fantastic investment directors in Aberdeen, Lawrence Ross, and I think Keith Mayer was the other one. Just outstanding people. But it took me about 1.5 years to get that organized. So in the meantime, I took a job with Camco. And Camco is a very interesting company. They had essentially completions technology. They made subsurface valves and what their head engineer would call shiny pipe items. Not glamorous, but made a lot of money. They had a good engineering base. They owned a bit company called Reed, and they owned a PDC bit company called Hycalog. And I worked with the Hycalog people, and I was in charge of the development of a new technology called a rotary steerable system. And a rotary steerable system basically is enabling technology that allows you to drill long horizontal wells and still maintain control of the well path while rotating the bit. It's at that time it was pretty hairy stuff, and I was lucky to work with some really talented engineers. John Barr, who had invented the PDC bit, he was the standout guru, as it were. A guy called Mike Russell, who had been instrumental in developing Sperry Sons technology. John Clegg, really outstanding people. Anyway, we basically developed this system after about 18 months. I think we'd done our first trial. and Camco got bought by Schlumberger, and that rotary steerable system is now called PowerDrive, and I still believe it's one of Schlumberger's biggest product lines. It was over $2.5 billion about 6 or 7 years ago, the last time I looked. So it's a very, very long-lived development. I mean, they've obviously refined it, but the basis was done by this small company based in Stroud, Gloucestershire. Engineers that had an aerospace background that were just really smart people, and it was very satisfying. So then I started my own drilling services company based in Aberdeen. It was called Integrated Drilling Systems, primarily MWD services, but we developed other technology. And it morphed into a company called Target, and I sold out to a company called Daly in Texas. On paper, we made quite a lot of money. Unfortunately, we took a lot of shares, and Daly went bankrupt about 18 months later, so I had to carry on working for a living. But no, that was $0 to $30 million sale in about 5 years. So it was exciting times, starting from absolute ground zero, worry about every single penny. Our first office was in the Fishy area in Aberdeen. Low rent, but it was a very good lesson for me, because having worked for two American giants for 20 years, I'd gotten used to sort of the admin support and all the other frills that come along with established companies, and it was very, very good to start from zero and to build a company. Yeah.
And what was it that you would do? What was the services you were doing? Was it drilling services globally, offering the kind of drill rig and drilling services?
No, it was drilling services insofar as primarily we provided MWD equipment and services, measurement while drilling services. So it's part of the drilling suite of tools that you need. And we had operations in the UK North Sea.
Okay.
We had joint ventures in Canada, Egypt, Germany. It was difficult because you're up against, Baker, Schlumberger, Halliburton, the big people. But we managed to carve ourselves out a niche. And then when IDS became Target, it was a fully fledged directional drilling services company with directional drilling engineers, all the tools that go with that.
You definitely. Would you describe yourself as a driller?
I would describe myself as a driller. I'm a geologist, and I still love geology, and it's very, very handy. But it's not my core competence anymore. I would say if I do have a core competence, it's drilling.
Okay, yeah. Just picking up what you were saying, lots of drilling history there. What drove you to start the company? Then you said there was a niche that you thought you'd found.
To be honest, I was a bit sick and tired of making lots of money for other people. Then to find the companies I was working for got sold to other companies, and I thought, well, I might as well just try and do it for myself.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, life's too short. Sometimes if there's an opportunity, you've got to take it. You might as well try it, and if you mess it up, so be it. But then if you don't take it, you spend the rest of your life saying, what if? So when I found myself in that position a couple of years ago as well, I had a decent job, and there was opportunities around, and just decided one day just to jack in the job and take on board a couple of opportunities, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. And so far, so good. It seems to be working out. But no, I'm 50 next year, so it was my last chance, if you want to call it that, to try and carve out another career. So I thought I'd better give it a shot.
Yeah, well, Kelly, I really regretted not having started my own company 10 years earlier when I was in my 20s. just didn't have the confidence. So it takes a while to build up that belief. It can be a bit intimidating when you're responsible for everything from sales to operations to HR to the treasury function. That's something that you have to grow into. But I guess it was the offer I got from 3i to buy Teleco, and the fact that I turned that down. Then I thought, okay, let's start my own company from scratch and see how it happens. And luckily, I had good support from 3i, so I had a really good financial backer, which is important.
Yeah.
And then, ultimately, having sold IDS to Daily, and Daily's payment in shares dissolving into nothing, I got together with an ex-colleague in Aberdeen, and we started Star Energy. Star Energy was born out of my belief that onshore UK was being overlooked. At IDS, I provided drilling services to a lot of the onshore UK operators, so I knew the geology and I knew the lie of the land, as it were. So, having had one full start trying to buy a company called MMRL, we got lucky, and we made an offer for a company called SOCO. SOCO UK had assets in the Weald Basin in Hampshire, West Sussex, etc. And as luck would have it, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. I happen to have worked with the chief executive or the president of the company when I was working in Israel, because they were basically the operators of the field that we discovered in the Red Sea. So we shook hands on the deal. I had really good private equity backing from a company called European Acquisition Capital. I had a couple of really good colleagues, one of whom is still with me, Colin Judd, who is the CFO. But we had a good team. And basically, we built Star Energy from an initial funding of £3.5 million into a company that we exited for an aggregate value of about £500 million 14 years later. So it was a very, very strong development, and it was mainly because the strategy was good, and we were able to roll up a lot of onshore UK producers because the parent companies had lost interest, or they were moving to other areas. And in the end, we ended up with being the biggest onshore operator in terms of fields and wells. We had 25 oil and gas fields. We became experts in gas storage. We developed the last gas storage facility in the UK to come on stream. That's Humley Grove in Hampshire. It was quite an intense journey. At one stage, we ran out of the ability of our private equity backers to continue the growth. So we decided that we needed to list the company. And we had good advice, but we also had a lot of luck because the timing was good. We listed the company on the back of needing to raise money to build the gas storage facility, which was a £75 million investment. So we were able to list the company in 2004. And in 2008, we sold to Petronas. Petronas had always been, they had been for the previous 2.5 years shareholders. They had some 20% of the company. And they decided to delist us and buy us out wholesale, mainly because of our gas storage expertise and our gas storage facility at Humley Grove. It was the sort of continuous phase. And my career has been, it has taken a few left and right turns since then, but I'm now back with a listed oil and gas company, and I might mention that I spent a year in Connecticut running a technology company. I was a fund manager for a couple of years. I ran a company called Ingenio in Sicily up until last November. That was an onshore oil field development. So, yeah, I'm pretty much a dyed-in-the-wool oil field person.
Yeah, I think you've covered just about every continent, and I mean, just from memory, you probably talked about 30 or 40 different countries there. So it's quite an astonishing career. And I know we only talked about it in the space of 20 minutes, but I think in your bio, it's 45 years worth of experience. It's incredible to still be going after 45 years in the industry. But so you said that you left your last company in November 2020. So how did Oilex come about? What was the that got you over the line into Oilex? How did that happen, basically?
Well, the main connection is, like I said, my old university buddy. So that was the link, and I got to know the principals in Perth, Joe Solomon and Mark Bolton, and it didn't take very long to understand that. I think we're pretty much peas out the same pod. We speak the same language. We share the same views, and I just felt that probably I could help, particularly with my stock market experience. We were listed at Star for 6-7 years, which I think we demonstrated to our shareholders, and this is one of my key sort of precepts, that you must provide your shareholders with a return on their investment. That's job number one, and the Starry shareholders made out very well. So that's very satisfying. And when we did finally sell out to Petronas, an awful lot of shareholders basically said, "Look, you've done a fantastic job. We really appreciate what you've done." And that was very satisfying to work with a whole spectrum of institutions and actually make their money work for them successfully.
Yeah, we've actually interviewed Mark Bolton. So we have Mark. Do you remember? It's Panthera.
From Panthera.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's the same Mark Bolton. So it is. I'll need to double check that, but I'm 95% certain it's the same guy.
It is the same guy. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He was really, really good. So yeah, it's a small world. Yeah. So it is. But all right. So you've told us about how you got involved with Oilex. Obviously, the university connections. Just for listeners that are maybe new to the company, can you give us a sort of maybe high level overview of each of the projects, and then possibly after that maybe a sort of roadmap of what's going to be happening in the next 6 months?
Yeah, you have to bear in mind I've only been on board for a day, so
yeah, no pressure.
I'm still learning, but the main current asset is Cambay in Gujarat state in India. It's an onshore gas field. It's been going for a while. There's a number of wells that have been drilled. I think they're up to something like well number 77 or 78, but these wells have generally been vertical wells, and they've been targeting a shallower formation. And Oilex have identified a slightly deeper formation in the Eocene called the E4 zone, which, according to the third-party engineering report, has something in the order of 950 BCF of contingent gas resources. So it's a fairly strong accumulation. The real issue is that the rocks are tight. It's a siltstone. It's not shale, but it's tight. So they need some stimulation to bring the flow rates to proper levels. It's a large field, so it's going to have to be exploited with a multi-well development. And these are all things I've done quite a few times before. So it's something I'm really looking forward to, and it's a bit of a puzzle because if it's done right, we are in an area where the gas prices are very, very solid. India really relies on imported gas for a lot of its energy needs. LNG establishes the gas price in India, and it's very attractive. So the monetization should be very successful. The access to the infrastructure, to the grid is very, very easy. It's very close to the high pressure system that services Gujarat state, and Gujarat state is one of the most industrialized parts of India. So it's got all the makings. But suffice to say, there's been some ups and downs over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Some drilling failures, some issues which needed to be resolved. So, there hasn't been a huge amount of activity there for the last few years. We're looking forward to re-establish production and developing a solid rollout of successful wells to bring some material production to the company.
Is this really well, it's not an early stage. You say you've had it for quite a while, but not a whole lot's been going on. Is this now really the kind of turning over a new leaf moment, would you say, for that particular project?
Very much so. We've just agreed terms with Gujarat State, who had a 55% shareholding. So Oilex is now 100% owner of the field, subject to Indian government ratification. So, we have freedom of movement. We've got a lot of offset well information, so there's a lot of data there. It's just a question of really designing these wells correctly so that they are executed without any problems and come on with material levels of production. And I'd like to think that the historic high of 2.5 million scuffs per day per well, we can multiply that quite a few times with horizontal drilling, well stimulation, modern techniques that are available in India.
All right, perfect. And closer to home then, Roland, there's an offshore license in the Irish Sea.
Yes, it's an offshore license that contains 2 structures. They're called Peel and Doyle. It's very close to the Mammoth multi-TCF field at Morecambe Bay. I would classify it still as exploration. There haven't been any wells that have penetrated the structures yet. We've still got a bit of technical work to do, but it could be quite promising. But what it does do for us is gives us a seat at the table of the group of UK operators. And suffice to say, I have pretty strong aspirations for an expansion into the UK. Still developing plans, but given my gas storage background, I am very keen on carbon capture and sequestration. I think that's technology that's going to be very important to the UK for the next 30, 40 years. And I believe that because I personally cannot see an alternative to the current 30, 35, 40% power generation that comes from burning natural gas.
Yep.
I think we're stuck with that for the foreseeable future. We have periods where renewables can provide maybe 50 or 60% of our electricity needs, but they're the odd day. And what you need is a reliable alternative source to step up when the wind isn't blowing and when the sun isn't shining, and gas to power installations are well suited to that. And I think they're going to be here for quite some time. So natural gas, I think, is going to be very important to the UK. And at the same time, we've got to make it carbon neutral. In other words, we've got to remove the CO2 from the equation. I think the best way to do that right now is to use the 150 odd depleted reservoirs we have in the UK and store the CO2 underground.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right about that. We were talking to someone from a company called Corcell recently, who are into flexible grid solutions in the UK, and he said the same thing. Like gas peakers is where their focus is going to be in the near term, because he just sees that there's going to be a need for the shortfall of energy will be filled by gas, at least in the near term, before we can get battery technology good enough and established enough to sort of store what we can make renewably. But yeah, he agreed that he said the same thing. Gas is here for a while.
And there's going to be increasing pressure on electrical supply as we do away with gas central heating. Starting in 2023, as more and more people adopt electric cars, that's going to put additional pressure on the system. So, reliable electrical power generation, I think, is going to be very, very important to the UK.
So what's the roadmap looking like then, Roland, for investors for this next 6 months? Let's just focus in India and the United Kingdom or the Irish Sea, because that's your two core projects at the moment.
Yeah, I don't want to be too prescriptive. I don't want to be held hostage to my own very early predictions, but I like to think that we will be able to establish drilling operations in India by the end of the year. We plan to drill 2 vertical wells and then frack them after having cored them. So basically those wells could become producers, but they are very key to the long-term development plan of the field. As far as the UK is concerned, we've requested an extension to our Peel and Doy license so that we can do some additional technical work, subsurface work, and I hope that we will have an ability to drill at least one exploration well during the course of next year. We may look for farm out partners to help share the risk. But those are the main activities in the short term.
Okay.
Yeah, I notice in one of the points that you refer to the Irish Sea one as a drill or drop decision. Does that literally mean that you drill it and if it's no good, you drop it and move on?
No, drill and drop means you either drill it or you lose the license.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. Okay.
So when you take a license, there are certain preconditions as a result of the award of that license by the OGA, and we've fulfilled most of the technical obligations. But we need a bit of work. COVID kind of hit us last year quite badly in terms of doing some of the engineering work that we need to do on the field before we can actually identify targets to drill, for example.
Okay. But you're getting close to getting a drill program underway, are you?
We're getting closer to getting comfort with the structure. There's been a lot of seismic interpretational work, gravity surveys, etc. But you don't want to drill a $10-15 million exploration well and have it fail for want of doing the very critical pre-drilling technical work.
No, definitely. definitely. I mean, obviously, Roland, you've got a lot of experience, and your black book of contacts must be must be the size of a telephone book with all that experience. Are you looking to bring any acquisitions into this portfolio for Oilex, or are you guys quite happy just to focus on the two core projects moving forward?
The simple answer to that is no. We are looking to grow the company.
Mm-hmm.
And, the growth will probably come through acquisitions, because the organic growth is going to be limited right now to India, and I don't want to put too fine a point in it. The Peel and Doyle fields are exploration. There's nothing proven there yet. It looks very promising. It's a very prospective area, but I don't like having all of our eggs in two baskets. So very much looking to add assets, and ideally we'd like to add production.
Yeah. And the market cap, I mean, it's pretty low. I mean, it's 11 million quid. I mean, I know it's been pretty active in the last 2 or 3 months, the share price, but it's like 10, 11 million pound just now. So it's not overly large at all. It's pretty small in the field, actually.
Yeah, it's very small. So I think Mark Bolton has described this new period as Oilex 2.0. In other words, it's a reset of the company. So we certainly plan to grow the company and to expand where it makes sense, and where we can provide shareholders with a return on investment.
Excellent. All right, Mark, have you got anything to finish off with?
No, I don't think so. No, it's been good getting a bit of an insight there into where you've come from. I say lots of experience, as you know, Kenny mentioned just now, which gives should give a lot of confidence in what you plan to sort of do in Oilex, and yeah, sort of like, as I say, an early, turning over a new leaf kind of moment, and a very much a kind of a refresh the page and sort of see what's going on. But you're one day in the job. Congratulations and good luck in your plans. And we'll keep tabs on what's going on. Yeah,
it'd be good to have you back on, Roland, and just see how 2.0 is it's getting on. And I'll certainly add Oilex onto my monitor and just keep an eye on it. So. Yeah,
I'd love to, and maybe we can do it over a pint of heavy or a moral chair, as far as Mark is concerned. So
well, I'm just about to get a can of beer now. I know it's a bit early in the day, but I've got to get practice in for Scotland versus England on Friday night. It doesn't come around very often, and certainly not at a major final. So we're probably going to get horsed, but we're always glorious in defeat. So. We'll just enjoy ourselves.
It's always a big occasion, and you can probably turn the microphone off right now. But I remember watching a number of games in Aberdeen, and being somewhat neutral. I don't classify myself as necessarily English or Scottish, even though I'd lived in Scotland for 15 years. But it took my breath away how Scotland's fans would cheer any team as long as it wasn't England.
Yeah, anyone but England. That was the slogan. Yeah, but it didn't matter who it was. I don't think it's quite as bad as that now. But for a while when we weren't qualifying, you would support anyone. You used to actually see people wearing the strips of the teams that England were playing.
Yeah, it was comical.
Yeah, it's good though. It keeps everybody. Keeps everybody on their toes, and it's a bit of banter. Good laugh, so it is, but there we go. Anyway, well, thanks for your time today, Roland, and like I say, we'll hopefully catch up with you in the next, the coming months, once you've got your sort of, I mean, I don't think you've even sat down at your desk yet if it's day one in the job, so we'll let you get your desk and your team sorted, and then we'll maybe catch up with you, probably sort of Q3, Q4, round about then.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Roland.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you for listening to another podcast from Market Musings with Fairbairn and Russell. Tune in next time.